Hello everyone, I am Kiran Joshi. Hope you all are fit and fine. Children, this is the second video of Class 8 History, Chapter 8, Women, Caste and Reform. In the first video, we learnt that about 200 years ago, many discriminatory customs were practiced in the Indian society, especially child marriage, sati, and the practice of untouchability. We also learnt about some social reformers such as Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati, who tried to improve women's condition in the society, especially of the widows. Children, most of these reformers believed that in order to improve the condition of women, it was necessary to educate them. And for this, several schools were opened for girls. In Calcutta, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, and in Bombay, other reformers set up schools for girls. Initially, the setting up of these schools was not welcomed by most of the people. They were afraid that schools would make the girls unwilling to do their household works, and in this way, schools would take girls away from home. Another problem was that to reach schools, girls had to go through the public places, and people felt that girls should keep away from the public places as this would put a bad effect on girls' minds. Due to these reasons, people avoided sending girls to schools throughout the 19th century, and those women who were educated, they were taught at home either by their fathers or husbands who supported women's freedom and liberty. Sometimes women taught themselves. For example, Rasha Sundari Devi, who secretly learnt to read and write in the dim light of candles at night. Children, she did so because the Orthodox society did not encourage women's education and believed that if a woman was educated, she would become a widow. By the end of 19th century, the Arya Samaj established schools for girls in Punjab and Jyotirao Phule set up schools for girls in Maharashtra. Initially, in these girls' schools, the curriculum was prescribed with this opinion that it should be less taxing than that for boys. Later, institutions like Hindu Mahila Vidyalaya provided girls with the kind of learning which was common for boys at that time. In elite Muslim families of North India, women were taught to read the Quran in Arabic. They were taught at home by or female teachers. Reformers like Mumtaz Ali re-explained the verses from the Quran that favored the women's education. From the late 19th century, people started writing novels in Urdu. All these developments encouraged women to read about religion and home management in the language that they could understand. Gradually, an increase in women's education occurred, and from the early 20th century, Muslim women started encouraging education among women. For example, the Begums of Bhopal started a primary school for girls at Aligarh. Another example is of Begum Rokeya Sakhawat Hussain, who took initiative to educate Muslim girls and for that started schools for them in Patna and Calcutta. Begum Ruqayya Sakhawat Hussain was a great critic of conservative thoughts. She argued fearlessly that in every religion, the religious leaders had given an inferior position to women. Women's education did not remain limited to school education only. Rather, by the late 19th century, many Indian women started getting higher education and were trained to become doctors, teachers, etc. Gradually, as the education spread, several women also started to express their concern about women's place in the society by writing and publishing their views. For instance, a woman named Tarabai Shinde, who got education at home at Pune, she wrote and published a book, Stri Purush Tulna, meaning comparison between women and men. Through this book, she criticized the difference between men and women in the society. Another learned woman, Pandita Ramabai, who had great knowledge of Sanskrit, expressed that Hindu religion did not give equal status and liberty to women. It was oppressive towards women. She wrote a book that highlighted the depressive and unhappy condition of upper caste Hindu women. Pandita Ramabai opened a widow's home at Pune. This widow's home aimed to provide shelter to those widows who had been ill treated by the relatives of their husbands. In this institution, women were provided training to help them manage financial support for themselves and become economically independent. But for Orthodox Indians, it was an alarming situation. Many Hindu nationalists thought that if women would be educated, they would adopt Western culture, and thus there was a risk for Hindu culture and family values. Orthodox Muslims also had the same worries. So, children, so far we have learnt that through education, women were gradually becoming confident and courageous to speak and work for improving their place in the society. By the end of 19th century, they started writing books, editing magazines, founding schools and training centers, and establishing women's associations. Further, in the early 20th century, women began to form political pressure groups. The aim of these pressure groups was to create pressure for making laws for right to vote for women and for better health care and education for them. Some women also took part in several nationalist and socialist movements. Further, the demands for greater equality and freedom for women was supported by nationalist leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. It was promised by the nationalist leaders that after the independence there would be full suffrage for all men and women. The leaders till then asked the women to support the anti-British struggles and to take part in the independence movement. As various issues like sati, widow remarriage, and women's education were being debated and actions were being taken for them, many people also challenged the old custom of child marriage. There were several Indians who were the members of the Central Legislative Assembly. They struggled to make a law that could prevent child marriage. Then, in 1929, the Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed. This act fixed the legal minimum age for marriage for men as 18 years and for women as 16 years. Later, these limits were raised to 21 years for men and 18 years for women. That's all in this video. In the next video of this chapter, we'll learn about caste and social reform. Now some questions for the topic covered in this video. First question, why did the people not want to send girls to schools that were opened in the mid-19th century? Second question, describe the contribution of some Muslim women in promoting education among women. Third question, write in brief about Tarabai Shinde and her book Stri Purush Tulna. Fourth question, give a brief account of Pandita Ramabai's efforts for women upliftment. Children, if you found this video helpful and wish to watch more of such content, do consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you have any queries or comments, please post them in the comment section below. Thank you.